All right, welcome. And the channel passed 60 million views. Notice I got the number right this time. Last time I did a video was at 47 million. I thought it was 74 million. So we're not at 74 million yet, but let's keep going and then I'm not a liar. Yeah, at 60 million views overall and just past 132,000 subscribers. And of course, last week we were in California. We met subscribers while we were there. And it was a really fun experience. So I get a lot of the same questions when we're doing live streams and stuff about the channel and whatnot. So I thought, why don't I just consolidate that into a video where I talk about being at 60 million views and talk to people who have been subscribers for a long time, that kind of thing. Now, it's a list of 10 points I guess I can come up with. I don't have a script. The top 10 I have in front of me is actually completely different. So then I realized, for that video, I shouldn't be wearing a Leafs jersey. And you guys will see why when you see what the top 10 list is. That's not an insult to Toronto. It's just they're not in that 10. So there's no point in wearing a Toronto jersey. And this is the All-Star jersey from this year. We're going to do a video where we talk about the All-Star jerseys soon. And there's a reason I'm delaying it. It's going to be a bunch of stuff all together. And so I'm waiting until that other bunch of stuff is there. And then we're going to talk about it. So let's go ahead and talk about number one, because when your channel gets big and you're a YouTuber, sponsors. I don't really have very much in the way of sponsors. You'll see there's a bench clearers ad that's in the description of my videos. There is there's an ad for Elite Prospects in the description for my videos, and that Elite Prospects link works right now. There's a discount code you can use there, which will get you a discount on a paid subscription with them. And honestly, I have the paid subscription with them. I don't advertise something I don't use. It's sort of like bench clears. I have 5 different jerseys from them. They're of course the tank tops. I know they prefer they get called tanks. I'm used to saying the word jersey, so I see it. It looks like a jersey. I call it a jersey, but I know it's a tank, and I apologize. And then there's not really a whole lot else. There's obviously I get this through Ben H Sports, which is on eBay and all that other wonderful stuff. And I give you guys an email address to contact him, and we will do that when we discuss this jersey and the other jerseys as well. But that's as close as I get. Sponsorships, and I understand that for channels that have millions of subscribers, they are a big driver of revenues. They can make $60,000-$70,000 on a sponsorship deal, and I'm not, no. I even thought about doing a video today where I could make a joke about having some kind of a makeup deal, and I thought I just can't. Which brings me to point number 2, because I get asked about this too. So I did, man, how long has it been since I did my last video, which was kind of for just comedic reasons? I think it was last year during the playoffs when I had the referee press conference, which was, we screw everybody over. I'm wearing a Penguins hat for no reason. That kind of thing. And it was, just off the cuff. I did a video a couple years ago on Penguins won the Stanley Cup because there was basically an expectation that they would win the Stanley Cup after a huge victory they had in round 1. And I thought, this is so, to me, I found it entertaining. I thought it was funny. So, yeah. And there's, of course, the famous Batman's Behind It All video that I did years back as well. I don't plan those out. Those have to be spur of the moment. So while I've had ideas along the way where I think, man, I could do a video on this, by the time actually shooting the video rolls around, I go, forget it. And that's pretty much what happens. There have been any number of instances where I'm like, man, I could do a funny video on. And I either say, forget it because I don't feel it, or because I feel like I might offend fan bases who don't necessarily get some of the stuff that I'm saying. It is just kidding around. And so I don't do it, or I feel like it's really topical in the moment, and by the time I get that break where I can do that video, it's not topical anymore, and I'm like, I'm just piling on. And then there's the other one too, and certainly we will be discussing this one a lot over the next few months. So Yvonne and I are going back to Vegas in the middle of March. Vegas is a nice cheap trip. It is a very cheap trip to take, and I enjoy taking it. It's fast as well. You're off the ground and your wheels are down, and you're in the city in 2 hours. It's a 2-hour trip. It's easy, it's fast, and it's cheap. And the ride home isn't that bad either. The flight going into Vegas can be somewhat terrifying because of the sharp turns you're taking going into the Vegas airport. But honestly, I've done it enough now that I'm not all that worried about it. The last time we flew into Vegas, it was whatever. And so I think I'm getting used to it. Flying into Seattle last week, well, a few days ago, that was absolute sheer terror. Yes. But when people talk to me about, well, you need to travel here and here, and as soon as you get out of this time zone, the cost goes way up, the time goes way up, and the fact that we have 3 kids makes it more difficult. And in the case of the boys, their dad is moving, so when he moves, we won't be getting the breaks from the kids we've had even on weekends. So that makes things a lot more difficult. So we go from a situation where it's difficult for us to find time to do it, and it becomes pretty darn near impossible. There's March. There's that 1 week for spring break in March, and then there's 2 weeks in August, and then there's a week at Christmas, and that's really it. So the plan right now is that in August we want to do 3 days in Anaheim, and then 3 days in Vegas, and then Christmas is the only one that's kind of wide open. But Christmas is tricky because you want to find a place to go where the price isn't going to be too high for Christmas. And so, that's where things get kind of tricky. And then that's it for 2020. So while I would love to be, like some of the bigger influencers that they just travel all over the place, in some cases it's easier for them because they're younger, they don't have the kids, and they're in the US already. So for me in Canada, I know people in Canada are going to say, why don't you travel in Canada? It's expensive to travel in Canada. It is. And then when you're looking at it, and it's like let's say January, where we're trying to wait, and we're going, okay, do we go to Anaheim? We can go to Disneyland with the kids. Or do we spend more money and go to Edmonton where it's minus 40 with the kids? And let me think about this for a minute. None of us have clothing that's anywhere near ready for minus 40 weather, which is why we don't handle the cold out here, because we really don't need those giant parkas and everything that you will have if you live on the prairies. So we're not ready for it. And there's no point in me going out and getting a giant parka because it might get cold for a day or two. That just makes it more obnoxious. Here's the giant parka I never need, and then somebody from Alberta will come stab it. Don't need it, I need it. Or just take it, right? So travel is difficult. I know next year, so I'm talking 2021, I'd like to be able to do Disney World, and I'd like to be able to do a few days there. And of course, there are a lot of considerations for me as well. I have to make sure I'm going somewhere where there's good Wi-Fi. I'm able to upload videos. One thing about being in the US instead of Canada, you have unlimited data in the US. You don't have that in Canada. For the most part, I know some companies are working on it. The problem is they'll throttle your data, so it becomes a slow crawl. So Canada is still working on it. And then there's the other questions I get as well. Like, does the media ever want to talk to you? No. I've never had a media request, even locally. I've never had global news. I saw there was a YouTube channel they talked about on Global News where, these women are, I think they were selling pot online. I don't remember what it was, or they had some kind of a channel. I think that's what it was. And I'm like, wait a minute. What? Like, I understand that it's legal in Canada now, but I was like, okay. And then they mentioned like, they're really growing. They had something like 30,000 subscribers. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah. All right. And there was sort of a part of me that went, because it sort of feels like sometimes it's overlooked, but that's okay. I'm not really insecure about it. I just thought that was odd that they're like, hey, look, a YouTuber succeeding locally, and I'm going, but it's fine. I actually found it kind of odd. And yet, here's the thing. I don't reach out either. It's not like I'm bugging Global and going, hey, look at this. Look what I'm doing. Hey, look. Hey, check it out. Check it out. The only time I bug Global is for the Brody Hints tournament. So these things are kind of related. So for people who might be newer to the channel and don't know what that is, the Brody Hints tournament takes place at the end of April. So we're looking at the last week of April, on that weekend, having that tournament, which I think is April 25th is the Saturday, and we want to have it then. So we're in the beginning of the planning stages of this right now. I will have an update. My wife will be at my side when we do the full update because she's usually behind the scenes doing all this stuff. She's much better at all the planning than I am. And with her, with the Disney trip, she planned everything out. Her and Tina, thank you, Tina. And so, it's all worked out really, really well. And I say thank you, Tina, because she's a subscriber. At least I assume she's still a subscriber. I shouldn't make that assumption. But, the Brody Hance tournament was born out of the Humboldt crash a couple years ago, and the fact that Brody was a subscriber to this channel at the beginning, in the very infancy of this channel, and he was on the channel commenting all the time. He was very good at advanced stats, and he was a very good conversationalist. And we debated things to the point where it almost sounded like an argument at times, but I don't mind that, because nothing ever got personal, and honestly, he seemed like a great kid, and then he's gone. So the tournament is a fundraiser. I touch absolutely none of the money. His family is in charge of, and they go through their legal side of things to make sure everything is all on the up and up, and we do the GoFundMe and all that, and it's money that gets raised for a good cause in his name. And that comes back to the media thing, which is, when these disasters tend to happen and you see things happen, and there is sort of an aspect of this that I have to put in here, because it's not just media, but it's the fact that you will get certain people who are kind of vultures in and around all this, where they take, I don't know if it's that they take joy in what they're doing or what it is, but there's an ugly side to the media that came out through a lot of what was going on before this. And what I found out was they'd rather report on the horrible things happening and all this horrible whatever, and not report on us actually trying to do something where we do something positive. Last year when I sent emails and contacts to local media, I heard nothing back. So I am sure that if something disastrous had happened, and I remember the one contact that I got from the media when I told them that I was doing this, that led me to think this about people in this, was all they wanted to know was, okay, is this family going to be there? And I thought about that after, and I thought, wait a minute, they just want to interview his family about what happened, and not talk about the tournament or what we're trying to do or the community we put together. And I thought that was really kind of nasty. So I don't have any aspirations, because my job description, I'm just a YouTuber. So I make videos, I upload them to the internet, and you find people decide whether or not the algorithm likes them through likes and through comments and all of that other wonderful stuff. Engagement works. So YouTube views any engagement as positive, which is why downvotes, I think that's actually a positive for a channel. It's the only way I can describe it. That some of the most disliked videos on YouTube, they don't disappear, they become recommended. And not only that, but they get millions of views. So it really feels like the algorithm goes, you know what, this is getting attention, and all attention is good attention. So that's kind of the way that works. Now, what being a YouTuber means is that I'm able to work from home, and it has provided a certain amount of flexibility for travel that I would not have had if I was working for Sportsnet or TSN. Not only that, but then I wouldn't have any say in where I'm going or when in some cases, right? And then the other thing too is that there are times where I can do videos about topics that maybe if I was working for a media outlet, they'd go, we'd rather you don't cover that topic. Now, there's some of that on YouTube as well, where there's certain topics that YouTube will, and people say, oh, they're censoring it. No, there's certain stuff that they'll say you can't run ads against that because advertisers have said no. So I get that. So I have had the occasional video here, the occasional video on the Entertainment Guy channel as well, where they've been flagged, and I've gone, nothing I can do. And I've left it as it is, demonetized, and left the video up, because I'm like, you know what? I had something important to say that day. It's fine that it's been demonetized. It's all part of this. And then, along the way, the only thing that I watch for, is growth year to year. So from January 2019 to January 2020, looking for the growth there. Now, with growth year to year, it's been kind of insane. So, 3 years ago, what I would have considered to be a good day, right now I would consider it to be a disastrous thing. but I try not to track it too much day to day. A good example is that, while we were in California, my view counts dropped, which of course the app told me right away, like, your view counts are going down. I know, because I'm at Disneyland. Morons. But when I look at the growth from year to year, like, it was, I think, 1.8 million views in January of last year. In January this year, it was around 2.3 million. So that tells me, okay, you gained about 500,000 views year over year. Good. Now, I don't really concern myself with getting into all the micromanagement. I don't have an obsession with how big can this get. I look at it right now and I say, okay, my bills are paid. I have everything that I could have wanted out of this. If you had told me 4 years ago that this would be something I could actually make a living at, I would have said, cool. I don't know how much I would have believed it. I know that when the first day that I monetized, I made 4 cents. And I thought that was great. And I had people going, it's 4 cents. And I'm like, and it's 4 cents I didn't have yesterday. And it's not through my regular job. And this is great. So I look at the growth year to year. I do that regularly. I will look at the lifetime, and I want to see it doing this. So as long as the sub counts and the view counts are at a nice gradual climb, that's a good thing. And it means that I'm still providing the consistent. So the most important thing for me has been really consistency. And that's something that I've always strived towards. I know that when I started doing previews and reviews, I fought it in the beginning, where I'm like, well, I don't want to do this every day. And the people are like, you should do it every day. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So I do it every day. Even if there's only 1 or 2 games, I do a preview and a review. And power rankings, I started out where I'm like, I'm only going to do this once or twice. And it's just, yeah, forget it. And now it's every week. And I've got a board dedicated to it because it really ended up becoming the most popular video I did every week. And then just the consistency of uploading every day. When I was in Anaheim, I had numerous people tell me, hey, your videos every day, it's great. It's this nice, consistent part of my day. I like starting my day with your videos. And then, every now and then I'll get people say, I've fallen behind in your videos. I feel bad because I missed last week's. And it's like, that's fine. They're still there. And so I consider it to be important to have that consistency in what I'm doing and in providing all that content. And really, I think the most important thing, and I guess, yeah, the best way to do it is just honesty. I do my best to provide honest content from day to day. So if I don't feel something, I don't do a video on it. People last week were asking me, like, why don't you do a video on LeBron, or not LeBron, on Kobe, right? You need to do a video on Kobe. You have to do a video on Kobe. If I had done a video on Kobe Bryant, it would have garnered a lot of views, it would have got a lot of attention, and it would have been a fraud. I was not a Kobe Bryant fan when he was playing. He was one of the greatest basketball players ever, arguably the greatest. I would still argue Michael Jordan's the greatest, but honestly, it's splitting hairs. But I didn't feel like I could add anything to that conversation. So while, yes, I could have made money doing it, I could have found a way to make a video that even if I didn't monetize it would get a bunch of views. People like, that's great. I won't do it. Because to me, that's kind of dishonest. And I learned early on, and I've learned over the years, that if I'm not really feeling a topic, don't talk about it. The Gritty thing a couple weeks ago in the NHL, and they're like, oh, there's this accusation about Gritty, and it sounds like it could be true. And I went, it's an accusation. I'm not getting into that. Because I wanted to see what would happen, and I didn't cover it until the police said, no, he's cleared. We can't find any evidence. And I went there. That I'll talk about. But when you get into some of the other stuff, I thought, nah, I really would rather not. There are topics I covered that I'd rather not cover because they have to be, because they're big news and newsworthy. But I do still at times say that would get a lot of hits, that would get a lot of views, but I'm not talking about it. And at this time of year, I consider the honesty to be like not covering potential trades. So, one thing I thought I'd do a top 10 of most likely guys to get traded at the deadline. And I thought, nah, I don't really have any idea. And it would just be the same list as everybody else. So I forget it. What's a player worth right now? I don't know. Nobody set the market. nobody set the market of what it will take to get a first rounder, second rounder, etc. So we have no idea what the market is because it hasn't been set yet. The Taylor Hall deal was way too early to say that set the market for the trade deadline. And I think the Taylor Hall deal may very well scare guys off from making trades. So, yeah, I just wanted to stop at 60 million. See if I can come up with 10 points. I seem to do that. Like I said, there will be a video on the Brody Hintz tournament. There will also, we're intending to have a meetup in March locally. And I know people want to see meetups everywhere. I would love to do meetups everywhere. But this is just the reality of I have a wife and kids. If I was single and all that like I was 4 or 5 years ago, I still wouldn't have been traveling. There's no way I could have planned all that out. There just isn't. There's no way I would have been like, all right, how am I going to get from here to okay, now where am I going to stay? Oh, and it just would have overwhelmed me. So the most important thing in all of this is that Yvonne does amazing work behind the scenes, and she helps out with all the social media stuff, the email stuff, and it's great because honestly, I would be completely overwhelmed if I was doing this completely on my own. But it's a partnership, and it works pretty well. I really have no complaints. I had the question yesterday during live stream on Patreon, the worst thing about your life right now. And the worst thing that I could find is that I the old boards that I used to use, the corners break out of them, and I keep having to replace them. So I'm getting a bunch of these kind that the corners don't break, although they scratch. But it's sort of a lesser of two evils, and that markers tend to die relatively quickly, and that's probably the biggest complaint in my life right now. So I am very blessed. I am very thankful and grateful, and that's why when anybody talk to me in Anaheim, as long as I hear you, I will always respond, and I'll always shake hands, and if people want selfies, they get selfies. So it's a humbling experience, this YouTuber thing, and I thought today was a good day to just take a little bit of a pause and discuss it with you fine people. Thank you so much for being subscribers and watching, and if you're not a subscriber, consider it. Just saying, no pressure, just consider it. I don't do the high pressure tactics that some do. I may be told to start doing the high pressure tactics. I haven't been told to do the high pressure tactics. I don't intend to do high pressure tactics. I just let you guys know, what makes channels successful, which is the engagement and the ad revenues and all that kind of stuff. But in all honesty, people are going to do what they want, and that's sort of the idea of YouTube. That's what YouTube's supposed to be. So I try to stay as consistent and as honest, and I try to make sure that for people who watch a video of mine now, as opposed to a video of mine from 4 years ago, they may see a new set. They may see, that I look different and I'm wearing different jerseys. But the reality is it's the same guy with the same ideas. Now I have a whiteboard, though. I tried watching one of my really, really old videos the other day, which was like a list video, and there's no whiteboard. And I'm like, how? Why? What is this? What were you thinking? You're just sitting on a couch. You're reading off a list that nobody can see. What are you doing? Why? How in the world does that work? So I was mad at myself because it's like I could do an updated list, and I'm like, wait, where's the list? Anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Like I always say at the end of a video, hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through, you just happened upon it. Thank you guys for all your support, and we're into the month of February, which means that my personal odometer turns over, but it's just a day, so it is what it is. I do feel bad for my wife on that, because whenever it's Christmas or my birthday, I'm like, good luck finding something, because it's hard to shop for me, and I know that. I've known that that's been the case for a very long time, because really, in all honesty, I don't strive to have a lot more than I have. I don't strive to have a really nice car. I don't strive to have a lot of the, I don't know. It's just a lot of the things that people might want. I just go, I'm fine. I've got what I need. I'm good. And that was the case even before I had the channel, where people were like, what do you want for your birthday? Nothing. Every now and then I'd throw a birthday party. I don't know. I guess I could try that this year, but I don't think that would go over, because then a lot of people couldn't attend, and where's the fun in that? So thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will talk to you very soon.